Ryan had been walking through the silent ruins of an old colony site, far from the trade routes and cities of the human frontier. The land was dry, with patches of grass pushing through cracks in the soil. Metal beams from collapsed shelters stuck out of the ground like broken bones. The air was heavy with dust, and the faint sound of wind moved through hollow frames of buildings that had once held families. Ryan was no soldier, no explorer, just a worker who repaired survey machines and carried supplies across forgotten stations. His ship rested on a hill nearby, its hull scratched and patched with old plates. He had come here to check if any parts from the colony could still be salvaged. To him, it was just another quiet day, another forgotten world. He bent down near a pile of broken panels, brushing away dirt to see if the circuits could still be used. His hands were rough from years of simple work, but his movements were careful. As he worked, he thought of nothing special. Just silence, dust, and the slow search for anything useful. Then, he heard it. At first, it was faint, like the cry of wind through metal. But it grew clearer. It was not the sound of wind. It was the sound of someone weeping. Ryan froze. He had traveled enough to know that strange places held strange dangers. But the sound was too sharp, too full of pain, to be anything but a living being. He straightened, turning his head, scanning the broken streets. His heart beat faster as the sound drew nearer. Then he saw movement. A figure rushed toward him from between the fallen towers. Small, thin, and stumbling. It was a girl. Not human, but alien. Her skin was pale with a soft shimmer, as if touched by starlight. Her hair flowed in silver strands, tangled from running. Her eyes, large and bright, shone with tears. She was young, no older than a child just learning to carry herself with strength. Her feet slipped on the uneven ground, but she did not stop. She ran straight for him, her hands stretched forward as if he were her only hope. Ryan took a step back in shock. He had seen aliens before on stations, in markets, in trading posts. But never had one run to him like this, never with such raw fear in her face. She stumbled at his feet, catching herself with her hands. Her voice shook as she looked up at him. "Please, follow me home. Please, you must come." Her words struck him harder than the sight of her tears. She spoke his language, though her accent was strange and heavy. She was begging him, not with the tone of someone asking for a favor, but with the desperation of one holding on to the last thread of hope. Ryan stood still, uncertain. His life had been plain, quiet, without great choices. He was not a warrior, not a leader, only a worker with calloused hands and a simple ship. Yet in that moment, he saw how her shoulders trembled and how her breath broke between sobs. Whatever had driven her to him had crushed her spirit, and she believed only he could help. He knelt slowly so his height would not scare her. His voice was steady, though inside he felt the weight of a choice he did not yet understand. "What is it? Why do you need me?" The girl wiped her face with the back of her hand. She tried to speak, but her words came out in pieces. "Home, danger, machines, please, no one else will come. Only you." Her silver eyes locked on his, filled with fear and hope together. He could not turn away. Ryan knew the universe was vast, filled with powers and empires far beyond him. He was just one man on a broken colony world. But standing before him was someone who saw him as more than that. Someone who saw him as the answer. He sighed, glancing back at his ship on the hill. He could leave, pretend this never happened. He could tell himself her people's problems were not his own. But when he looked at her again, he saw more than a frightened child. He saw trust, given to him without reason, as if fate had chosen this meeting. He offered her his hand. "All right. Show me. Take me to your home." Her face lit up with a fragile smile through the tears. She took his hand with both of hers, holding tightly as though she feared he might vanish if she let go. Without another word, she pulled him forward, guiding him toward the shadows of the broken forest beyond the ruins. As they moved, Ryan felt a strange pull in his chest. He did not know what waited for him ahead. But he knew that this meeting, this single moment of choice, had changed the course of his life forever. And though he did not yet understand, he knew that the tears of one alien girl had bound him to a path that no human had walked before. The path from the ruins led into a stretch of forest that seemed alive with whispers. The trees were tall and strange, their bark glowing faintly in the dim light. The leaves shifted as if they were breathing, and the air carried a sweet but heavy scent. Ryan followed the girl carefully, keeping his eyes sharp for movement. His boots crunched softly against roots and stones, and the sound of her light steps ran ahead of him. She still held his hand tightly, as if she feared he might turn back at any moment. Her grip was small, but it carried a strength that came from desperation. From time to time, she glanced up at him with her silver eyes, checking to see if he was still with her. Each time, Ryan gave a short nod to show he had not changed his mind. At last, when the forest grew thick and the ruins were out of sight, the girl slowed her pace. She stopped near a hollow tree where glowing vines wrapped around the trunk like veins. She turned to face him, her chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. "My name is Lyra," she said softly, her voice steadier now that she had space to breathe. "Thank you for coming this far. I did not think any human would answer me." Ryan leaned against a rock, folding his arms. His eyes studied her with quiet care. "Tell me, Lyra. What is happening to your home? You said machines. What kind of machines?" Lyra's face grew pale, and her hands tightened into fists. She looked down at the ground, as if the memory itself hurt her. "They are not like the machines your kind builds to help. They are claws and teeth made of metal. They dig into the earth, break the trees, and poison the water. They move without rest. My people try to stop them, but our tools are too weak. Every day we lose more land, and now they come closer to our village. If they reach us, we will not survive." Her words poured out quickly, as though she had held them back for too long. Her voice trembled, but not from fear alone. There was anger in her tone, and sorrow, and a plea that went beyond words. Ryan felt a weight in his chest. He had seen machines that stripped land for mining or cleared ground for new stations. He knew how cold and merciless they could be. Yet he had never seen them turned against a people who lived so close to the land. For the first time, he understood why she had run to him with such desperate hope. "Why me?" he asked quietly. "I am no soldier. I am no leader. I am just a man who fixes things. Why would you think I can help where your own people cannot?" Lyra lifted her head. Her silver eyes met his, and her voice grew firm. "Because you are human. Your kind is known for standing against storms, against hunger, against war. You survive when others fall. You fight when there is no chance, and somehow you win. I have heard stories of your worlds. I believe you can help us, even if you do not believe it yourself." Her words struck him deeper than he wished to admit. He thought of his quiet life, his small ship, his endless search for broken parts. He had never thought of himself as someone who carried such strength. Yet here stood a girl who believed he did. He rubbed his hand across his jaw, thinking, if I go with you, if I see this for myself, I cannot promise I will have the answer. But I will not walk away without trying. Lyra's lips curved into the faintest smile, though tears still glistened on her cheeks. That is all I ask. Come with me. See my home. Then decide. Ryan nodded once. All right. Lead the way. They moved again through the forest, the strange light shifting above them. The path twisted and narrowed, and more than once Ryan had to push aside branches that seemed to move back into place after he passed. Lyra walked quickly, though she paused often to make sure he was close behind. Her small figure carried determination far greater than her size. As they traveled, Ryan asked, "Do others know you came to find me?" She shook her head. "No. My people hide in silence. They have lost too much. Many no longer believe anyone can save us. They would not have let me leave if they knew. But I could not stay and do nothing. I felt I had to find someone who could help. I did not expect it would be you, yet here you are." Ryan gave a short laugh, not of mockery but of disbelief. "A worker from a forgotten colony yard. That is who you place your hope in." Lyra's voice was soft but certain. "Sometimes the one who does not seem strong is the one who can change everything." Her words stayed with him as they pressed deeper into the wild. Ryan thought of his years of quiet wandering, of being unnoticed among the stars. For the first time, he wondered if all of it had been leading to this moment, to this meeting with a girl who refused to let despair win. Hours passed as the forest gave way to open fields. The ground here was scarred, darkened by ash. Trees stood blackened and hollow, their leaves long gone. In the distance, Ryan saw faint shapes moving, slow but steady. Machines. Even from afar, their presence chilled him. They were large and unnatural against the gentle curve of the land, like wounds tearing open the earth. Lyra stopped and pointed toward a ridge. "Beyond that hill is my home. You will see what has been done to us." Ryan placed a hand on her shoulder, steadying her trembling frame. "I will see it, Lyra. And I will not turn away." Together they walked on, the shadow of the machines stretching long before them, leading them toward a village that waited in silence and pain. The ridge was steep, its stones sharp and loose beneath Ryan's boots. The climb was slow, and each step seemed heavier than the last. Lyra moved ahead with the lightness of someone who had walked this path many times before, her silver hair catching what little light slipped through the clouds. She often looked back to check on him, her eyes filled with both urgency and worry, but she said nothing. When they reached the top, Ryan paused to catch his breath. From the ridge, the land stretched out wide before them. What he saw made him still. The fields below were scarred and broken. Patches of soil had been dug out until only pits remained. Once green stretches of grass now lay dark and lifeless, as if burned from beneath. Strange black liquid ran in shallow lines, spreading poison into the earth. And then he saw the machines. They were not like the mining tools he had worked with before. These were large, with long arms ending in claws that dug deep into the ground. Their bodies were plated with steel, their joints moving with a grinding sound that echoed across the field. Some of them tore into the land while others carried the earth away, dropping it into great holes that yawned like open mouths. There was no sign of control, no operator guiding them. They moved on their own, endless and cold. Lyra stood beside him, her hands clutching her cloak tightly. "This is what I wanted you to see. They do not stop. Day and night, they eat the land. If they reach the village, we will have no place left to live. My people are afraid. They do not fight. They only hide. Ryan's jaw tightened. The sight of the machines stirred something inside him. He remembered his days working at repair docks, where he had seen powerful harvesters strip a field bare in hours. He remembered men and women who had cursed such machines for taking their homes and leaving nothing but dust. He had thought he left that world behind, but here it was again, only worse. He looked at Lyra. She was small, her face young, but her spirit was fierce. She had walked alone through ruins and forests to find him, believing he could help. Now, standing at the edge of the scarred land, he felt the weight of that trust pressing against him. "How far is your village from here?" he asked. "Not far," she replied. "It lies in the valley beyond the forest. We can reach it before the dark comes. But you must stay close. The land is not safe." Ryan gave a short nod. "Then let us go." Lyra led him down the far side of the ridge. The path was narrow, hidden by thick growths of vines and strange flowers that gave off a faint glow. The air here was cooler, and the sounds of the machines grew dim as they walked deeper into the green shadows. The hidden path twisted like a river, sometimes narrowing so much that Ryan had to push through branches, and sometimes opening into small clearings where the ground was soft with moss. At one point, they crossed a stream that glowed faintly blue, its water flowing like light itself. Ryan paused to stare at it, but Lyra pulled his arm gently. "Do not drink. The machines have poisoned some of the waters. We do not know which are safe anymore." He followed her without question. The deeper they went, the more he felt the forest watching him. The branches creaked as though whispering. The leaves rustled though there was no wind. More than once he thought he saw faint shapes moving in the distance, vanishing the moment he blinked. Lyra seemed unbothered. She walked with quiet steps, her eyes always ahead. She knew this path well, and her trust in it made him steady his own doubts. After some time, she spoke again, her voice low. "My people call this the hidden path. It has been here for many generations. It was built not with stone or tools, but with patience. Our elders shaped the trees and guided the streams until the forest itself became our shield. Outsiders cannot find it unless they are shown the way. That is why I brought you here. If the machines try to reach us, this path may be our only hope of staying hidden." Ryan listened, his respect for her people growing with each step. They had lived close to the land, shaping it with care, not with blades of iron but with hands of patience. Now that very land was being torn apart by lifeless machines. The path curved again, and suddenly the air grew warmer. Ryan felt a faint hum beneath his boots, like the vibration of a great engine deep underground. He stopped, frowning, and placed his hand against a tree. The bark trembled faintly beneath his touch. "Do you feel it?" he asked. Lyra nodded, her face dark. "Yes. The machines are spreading. Their roots reach far, even under the ground. They drink the life of the earth. That is why we are afraid. Even the forest that once protected us may not hold for long." They pressed on. The sun was lowering, turning the sky into shades of orange and red that filtered through the leaves. Shadows grew long, and the sounds of the forest grew louder, as though the night creatures were waking. At last, they reached a clearing at the edge of the valley. From here, Ryan could see faint lights in the distance, glowing softly like stars fallen to the ground. Lyra's face softened at the sight. "There," she whispered. "That is my home." Ryan followed her gaze. Between the trees, he could see structures shaped from crystal and wood, built into the very roots of the valley. The homes seemed alive, glowing faintly with colors that shifted like breathing. Smoke rose gently from fires, and figures moved in the shadows, quiet and tired. But even from here, Ryan could see the marks of struggle. Some homes were broken, their walls cracked. The fields around the valley were scarred, and fear hung in the air like mist. Lyra looked at him with hope trembling in her voice. "You see now why I asked you to come. Will you still help us?" Ryan did not answer at once. He stared at the village, then at the horizon where the machines crawled closer. He felt the choice pressing down on him. He was just one man, but the eyes of an entire people would soon rest on him. At last, he gave a slow nod. "I will see your people, Lyra. Then I will decide how best I can stand with you." Her smile returned, small but filled with light. She reached for his hand again, guiding him down the final steps of the hidden path, toward a village waiting in silence and fear. The last stretch of the hidden path curved into the valley. The air grew warmer and carried the scent of smoke and damp earth. Ryan followed Lyra closely as the forest opened into a wide space where the alien village rested. At first glance, it looked like something from a dream. The homes were built into the trees and rocks, glowing faintly as if light lived inside them. Wooden bridges stretched between high branches, and crystal windows reflected the fading colors of the sky. But beauty alone could not hide the pain. Many of the homes were broken. Cracks ran through their walls, and whole sections had collapsed. The fields nearby were blackened, their crops withered to ash. Families sat in silence around dim fires. Their faces were thin, their eyes hollow with exhaustion. Even the children moved slowly, their laughter gone, their steps heavy. When Ryan stepped into the open, the villagers turned to stare. Their gazes were sharp with suspicion. Whispers moved among them, and some pulled their children closer. Ryan understood. To them, he was a stranger, an outsider, and worse, a human. He could feel the weight of their doubt pressing against him. Lyra squeezed his hand and stepped forward. Her voice carried across the clearing, clear but soft. "Do not fear. He is here because I asked him. He came to help." The villagers looked at one another. Some shook their heads. One elder stepped out from the crowd, his hair pale and his skin lined with age. He leaned on a staff shaped from twisted wood, and his eyes were heavy with sorrow. "Lyra," the elder said slowly, "you should not have gone alone. It is dangerous beyond the path. And now you return with a human. Do you not see the risk?" Lyra stood tall, though her voice trembled. "Elder, I could not stay. The machines grow closer each day, and our strength fades. I thought perhaps a human could help us, for they are known to endure where others fall. I believe he can guide us." The elder's gaze shifted to Ryan. His expression was unreadable. "And you, human? Why are you here? What do you hope to gain from us?" Ryan took a step forward, standing straight though he felt the weight of every eye on him. "I came because she asked me. I have nothing to gain. I saw your land broken by machines, and I could not turn away. If there is a way I can help you stand, I will." The elder studied him in silence, then tapped his staff against the ground. "Words are easy. Action is harder. You are only one man. What can you do that we have not already tried?" Ryan opened his mouth, but before he could speak, a loud groan echoed across the valley. The ground shivered under his feet. Far on the horizon, one of the machines lifted its clawed arm, tearing a tree from the earth as if it were nothing. The villagers lowered their heads, their fear clear in their silence. Ryan's jaw tightened. He turned back to the elder. I do not have all the answers. But I know machines. I have worked with them, repaired them, and broken them when they turned dangerous. You do not need me to be a warrior. You need me to help you fight in a way the machines will not expect. The elder did not answer. His silence felt heavy, but Lyra's voice broke it. Please, listen. We cannot hide forever. If we do nothing, the machines will take everything. If this human is willing to help, then let him try. Another villager, a woman with dark hair woven in braids, stepped forward. She carried a child on her hip. Her voice was tired but strong. If he is willing, then what harm is there in giving him a chance? We have already lost too much. If he fails, it is no worse than where we are now. But if he succeeds, she stopped, as though afraid to speak hope aloud. More murmurs passed through the crowd. Some nodded, others looked away. At last, the elder sighed, lowering his head. Very well. If the human wishes to help, we will not stop him. But he must understand this: our lives are not his to gamble with. If he leads us into danger, the loss will be on his hands. Ryan met the elder's eyes without flinching. I understand. I will not waste the trust you give me. The villagers slowly returned to their homes, though many still cast doubtful looks his way. Only Lyra stayed close, her hand still wrapped around his arm. She looked up at him with a faint smile. Thank you for speaking. They do not trust easily, but you gave them hope. Ryan exhaled, his shoulders heavy. Hope is one thing. Now I must give them more than words. Lyra led him deeper into the village. She showed him the broken fields, the empty storage houses, the dried streams where water once flowed. Everywhere he looked, the signs of struggle were clear. Yet the people were still alive, still holding on in silence. That alone spoke of strength. As night fell, fires were lit around the valley. Shadows danced against the crystal walls of the homes. Ryan sat with Lyra near one of the fires, sharing a simple meal of dried roots and bitter fruit. The taste was harsh, but he forced himself to eat, knowing it was likely all they had left. The silence between them was broken only by the crackle of firewood. Finally, Lyra spoke. Do you still believe you can help us, after seeing this? Ryan looked into the flames, then at the faint glow of the machines still visible on the horizon. I believe I must try. If I walk away, then nothing will change. If I stay, maybe I can give you a chance. That is enough for me. Lyra's eyes softened, and she gave a small nod. Then tomorrow, I will take you to the edge of the fields. You must see how close the machines have come. Then you will know what we face. Ryan leaned back, his body tired but his mind awake. He thought of the villagers' faces, of the fear in their silence, of the hope in Lyra's words. He knew he carried no grand weapons, no armies, no magic. But he carried something else: the stubborn will of a human who refused to let despair decide the future. As the fire burned low, Ryan closed his eyes, knowing that the true struggle was only beginning. The night passed slowly in the alien village. Fires burned low, sending thin trails of smoke into the sky. The villagers slept in silence, but Ryan could not rest. He sat outside one of the crystal homes, staring toward the horizon where the faint red glow of the machines still burned. Their grinding echoed even in the quiet night, like a warning that tomorrow would not be different from today. Lyra sat beside him, her head resting lightly against her knees. She had not spoken much since showing him the state of her home. Her people were proud, but he could see how heavy their suffering had been. She finally broke the silence, her voice soft. "You have seen us. You have seen what we face. Do you still believe you can help?" Ryan rubbed his hands together, staring at the faint sparks that rose from the fire. "I am not a warrior, Lyra. I do not carry weapons or lead armies. But I know machines. I know how they think, how they move. And I know that even the strongest machine has a weakness. If we can find that, we can fight." Lyra lifted her head, hope flickering in her eyes. "Then you will stay." Ryan looked at her for a long moment. He thought of his ship waiting in the ruins, the easy path of walking away. No one would blame him if he left. But the memory of the broken homes, the children's silent faces, and the endless grinding of the machines pressed too hard against his heart. He gave a slow nod. "I will stay," he said firmly. "If your people will trust me, I will help you stand." Lyra's face brightened, and though her smile was small, it carried more warmth than any fire. "Then we are not alone anymore." When morning came, the village stirred with uneasy movement. The elder returned with several villagers, their faces cautious. Ryan stood before them, his hands steady at his sides. The elder's eyes narrowed. "You had the night to think, human. Have you decided what you will do?" "Yes," Ryan replied. "I will fight with you. But I will need your help. I cannot do it alone." The villagers murmured among themselves. Some still looked doubtful, but others leaned forward with quiet interest. The elder tapped his staff on the ground. "Speak, then. What is your plan?" Ryan drew a simple shape in the dirt with a stick. He sketched the machines, tall and heavy, their arms clawing at the earth. Then he drew lines leading to traps, barriers, and hiding places. "These machines are strong, but they are also simple. They do not think as we do. They follow a path, and they cannot change quickly. If we build traps to slow them, and if we strike when they are weak, we can destroy them piece by piece. We do not need to face them head on. We need to outsmart them." The villagers leaned closer, their eyes tracing the lines in the dirt. Some nodded slowly, as if the idea was beginning to take root. One man spoke up. "We are not fighters. Our tools are for farming, not for war. How can we stand against such monsters?" Ryan looked at him with steady eyes. "You have strength you do not see. You know the land. You know its hidden paths, its rivers, its stones. That knowledge is a weapon. I will show you how to use it." Another voice rose, this time the woman with the braided hair who had spoken before. She adjusted the child on her hip and said, "If he is willing to teach, then we must try. We cannot wait for the machines to swallow us whole." More murmurs spread, and slowly the doubt began to fade. The elder still looked unsure, but at last he gave a slow nod. "Very well. We will hear you. Show us what we must do." From that moment, the village moved with new energy. Ryan began to walk among them, asking for tools, ropes, wood, and stones. He showed them how to build traps that would collapse under the weight of a machine, how to use fire to drive them back, and how to hide in the forest until the right moment to strike. The villagers listened, their hands uncertain at first, but as the day passed, their confidence grew. Lyra stayed at his side, guiding him to places where the forest was strongest, where rivers ran deep, where cliffs could be used as shields. Her knowledge of the land joined with his knowledge of machines, and together they began to shape a plan that was neither human nor alien, but something greater. By evening, the village looked different. Men and women worked together, building barriers and setting traps. Children carried stones and water, helping as best they could. The air no longer felt heavy with despair. It carried a quiet fire, the kind that grows before a storm. As the sun set, Ryan stood on the ridge once more, looking out at the machines. They still moved endlessly, their claws tearing into the earth. But this time, he did not see them as unstoppable. He saw them as enemies that could bleed, enemies that could fall. Lyra stood beside him, her silver eyes glowing in the fading light. "Do you think we can win?" Ryan exhaled slowly, his jaw firm. "I do not know if we can win in one strike. But I know we can hurt them. And if we keep fighting, we can drive them back. Machines are strong, but they cannot match the will of those who refuse to give up." Lyra looked at him with quiet wonder. "Your people truly are different. You see hope where none exists." Ryan gave a faint smile. "Hope is all we have when everything else is taken. Hold on to it, and you will be stronger than any machine." Night settled across the valley once more. Fires burned brighter than before, and the villagers gathered in small groups, whispering plans and sharpening their tools. Ryan felt the weight of their trust pressing on him, but he did not shrink from it. He had chosen this path, and he would see it through. As he lay down near the fire, the sound of the machines still echoed across the horizon. But now, for the first time, it did not feel like a warning. It felt like a challenge. And Ryan, the simple worker who had never thought himself a leader, was ready to answer it. Morning light spread across the valley like a soft blanket. For the first time in many days, the village woke not with silence but with movement and purpose. Ryan walked among the people, his eyes sharp, his voice steady. The villagers followed his words, though their steps were uncertain. They had never prepared for war, but now they had no choice. He started with the strongest workers, showing them how to build stronger barriers. Wooden stakes were planted in the ground, angled to trap the heavy claws of the machines. Large nets woven from vines were stretched between trees, ready to pull down with a single cut of a rope. Stones were piled high on ledges, waiting to be pushed onto metal shells below. "You must think not of strength," Ryan said, his voice carrying across the clearing, "but of timing. A machine is not alive. It cannot think. It follows a path. If you know its steps, you can strike where it is weak." Some villagers still doubted, but Lyra's steady presence beside him gave them courage. She repeated his words, reminding them that this plan was not only his but theirs as well. The forest was their ally, and every root, branch, and stone could be turned into a weapon if they dared to try. Children carried water and gathered small stones. Women tied ropes and wove nets with quick hands. Men lifted logs and sharpened stakes. The elder watched from the side, his eyes heavy but no longer filled only with despair. Even he could see the spark growing among his people. By the second day, Ryan began to train them in simple tactics. He taught them how to move quietly, how to wait for the right moment before attacking, and how to work together. At first, their movements were clumsy. Some tripped, some acted too early, and laughter mixed with frustration. But Ryan did not scold them. He smiled, encouraged them, and showed them again until their steps grew sharper. "Remember," he told them, "this is not about fighting with rage. It is about fighting with patience. A human alone cannot face a machine head-on, but together, with the right plan, we can break them piece by piece." Lyra was always at his side, quick to learn and quicker to teach others. She moved with grace through the forest, showing Ryan the hidden streams, the cliffs, and the soft earth where heavy machines would sink. With her guidance, the traps became stronger. Where his mind saw weakness in metal, hers saw strength in the land. As the days passed, the villagers began to change. Their steps grew confident, their eyes brighter. Fear still lived in them, but it no longer ruled them. Hope had begun to take root. On the 5th day, the warning came. A young boy ran into the village, his voice shaking. "The machines, they are near the ridge. They are coming closer." The village fell silent. Every face turned toward Ryan. The elder stepped forward, his staff shaking slightly. "It is time. Human, lead us." Ryan felt the weight of their trust press hard on his shoulders. But he did not waver. He nodded once, his voice calm. "Then let us begin." The villagers moved quickly to their positions, just as they had practiced. Nets were lifted high, ropes stretched tight, and stones pushed into place. Ryan led a group to the ridge, where the machines crawled closer. Their grinding filled the air, and the ground trembled with each step. The first machine appeared through the trees, its claws digging deep into the earth. It was larger up close, its body taller than a house, its shell covered in sharp plates. It moved without pause, tearing at the soil with a sound that shook the heart. Ryan raised his hand, signaling for silence. The villagers held their breath, hidden among the trees. The machine drew closer, its heavy claws cutting through roots and tearing rocks apart. When it reached the edge of the trap, Ryan gave a sharp wave. Ropes were cut, and heavy logs swung down from the trees. They slammed into the machine's side with a thunderous crack. The great body shook, one claw snapping under the force. Sparks flew, and the sound of grinding grew louder as it struggled to steady itself. "Now," Ryan shouted. The villagers pushed the stones from the ledge. They crashed onto the machine, breaking through its plates and jamming its joints. The creature of steel thrashed, its claws striking blindly, but its movements slowed. Then a final net dropped over it, ropes tightening as villagers pulled from all sides. The machine groaned, sparks bursting from its joints, before it finally collapsed into silence. The villagers cried out in triumph, their voices ringing across the forest. For the first time, they had destroyed one of the monsters that haunted their land. But their victory was short. The ground shook again, heavier this time. Two more machines crawled from the shadows, their claws tearing at the earth. The villagers froze, their cries of joy fading into fear. Ryan's voice cut through the silence. "Do not fear. You have seen it fall. They can all fall. Trust your traps. Trust each other. Stand with me." His words struck them like fire. Fear gave way to courage, and once more the villagers moved into position. Nets were raised, ropes stretched, and fires lit. The next machine roared forward, its claws snapping. But the villagers were ready. Logs swung, nets fell, and flames rose high. The battle stretched long, each strike hard and dangerous. Ryan fought beside them, pulling ropes, cutting lines, and pushing stones. His hands burned, his body ached, but his voice never faltered. With every machine that groaned and cracked under their traps, the villagers grew louder, stronger, braver. When the sun dipped low and the forest glowed red, 3 machines lay broken on the ground. Their shells smoked, their claws shattered. The villagers stood together, their bodies tired but their eyes shining with victory. Lyra stood at Ryan's side, her silver eyes wet with tears. "We did it," she whispered. "For the first time, we fought back. And we won." Ryan placed a hand on her shoulder, his own voice rough with exhaustion. "This is only the beginning. The machines will come again, and we must be ready. But today, you proved something. You are not helpless. You are stronger than you knew." The villagers gathered around them, their cheers filling the valley. For the first time in many dark days, hope burned brighter than fear. And Ryan, the human who had once thought himself ordinary, stood at the center of it all, knowing that the real fight had only begun. The night after the battle was alive with voices. The villagers gathered around the fires, their laughter and songs rising into the sky. They had not celebrated in many seasons, and the sound of joy felt strange but beautiful. Children danced, elders smiled, and for once the weight of fear lifted from every heart. Ryan sat on a log near the fire, his body sore but his spirit steady. He watched the villagers and felt a quiet warmth. He had come as an outsider, but now their eyes looked at him not as a stranger but as one of their own. Lyra sat beside him, her silver eyes reflecting the flames. "You gave them hope," she said softly. "You showed them that we are not doomed to be silent while the machines take everything." Ryan shook his head. They already had the strength. They only needed to see it. "I just helped them remember." Lyra smiled faintly. "Still, without you, we would have fallen long ago." Their quiet moment ended when the elder approached. His staff tapped against the ground as he leaned close. His eyes were heavy with thought. "Human, you must know the truth. What you destroyed today was only a small part of what threatens us. The machines dig deeper every day. They come from a place we cannot reach, a wound in the earth that grows wider with each season. If we do not stop them at their source, we will lose everything." Ryan's jaw tightened. He had expected this. "Then we go to the heart of it," he said firmly. "If we strike where they are born, we can end this." The elder's eyes searched him, then gave a slow nod. "It is dangerous. Many may fall. But perhaps this is the only way." The next morning, the village prepared for what they all knew might be the last fight. Nets were woven stronger, stakes sharpened sharper, and fire jars filled to the brim with oil. Ryan studied the maps of the land with Lyra, planning every step of their path to the wound in the earth. At dawn, they moved together, a line of villagers carrying ropes, stones, and torches. Fear lingered in their eyes, but their steps were steady. Ryan walked at the front, with Lyra close beside him. The journey was hard. Forest paths twisted, rivers slowed their march, and cliffs blocked their way. But the villagers pressed on. At last, they reached the valley where the machines swarmed. The sight froze them in silence. The ground was torn open, a massive scar stretching across the land. From its depths, machines crawled endlessly, climbing out of the earth like ants from a nest. Sparks lit the darkness below, and the sound of grinding and tearing filled the air. Ryan stood tall, his eyes narrowing. This is where it ends. The villagers spread out, setting traps quickly. Stones were lifted onto cliffs, fire jars hidden in bushes, nets stretched across paths. Ryan guided them with calm words, though his heart pounded. He knew this fight would be harder than any before. When the first machine crawled near, the villagers struck. Stones crashed, nets tightened, and fire burst across the metal shell. The creature thrashed, sparks flying, until it collapsed with a heavy crash. Cheers rose, but more machines followed, climbing from the scar without end. The battle roared across the valley. Machines charged, their claws snapping, their bodies smashing through trees and rock. Villagers fought with all they had, pulling ropes, cutting lines, and striking with fire. The air filled with smoke and sparks, screams, and cries. Ryan moved among them, never resting. He pulled a child to safety, cut a rope at the right moment to bring down a net, and pushed a flaming jar into the joints of a machine. His body burned with pain, but he refused to stop. Every moment mattered. Every life mattered. Lyra fought beside him, her movements fast and sharp. She threw fire jars with deadly aim, guided villagers to safe paths, and never once let fear break her voice. Together, they stood at the heart of the battle, holding the line as more machines poured out. But soon, it became clear that traps alone would not be enough. The machines were too many. The villagers began to tire, their arms weak, their voices fading. For a moment, despair returned. Then Ryan saw it. Deep in the scar, at the bottom of the wound, a great machine rested. Larger than all the others, it glowed with strange light, and from it came the smaller ones. It was the source. Ryan turned to Lyra, his eyes burning with resolve. We end this at the core. If we bring that one down, the rest will fall. She stared at the great machine, fear flickering in her eyes, but then she nodded. Then we go together. They ran through the chaos, dodging claws and leaping over broken earth. Villagers saw them and cleared a path, holding the machines back with the last of their strength. At the edge of the scar, Ryan and Lyra looked down into the depths where the great machine pulsed with light. We cannot reach it with fire from here, Lyra said breathlessly. Ryan's mind raced. Then he saw the cliffs above the scar, lined with boulders waiting for the right strike. He grabbed her arm. The stones. If we bring them down, the whole wall will collapse onto it. They climbed fast, their hands scraping against stone, their lungs burning. Machines spotted them and gave chase, claws tearing the rock. But villagers shouted and threw ropes, pulling the creatures away, giving them time. At the top, Ryan and Lyra reached the ropes tied to the boulders. They looked at each other, sweat and dust on their faces. This is our chance, Ryan said. Pull with me. Together, they heaved with all their strength. The ropes strained, the boulders trembled, and at last, the cliff gave way. A thunderous crash filled the valley as tons of stone rained down into the scar. The great machine screamed with a grinding roar, crushed under the weight. Its glowing light shattered, and one by one the smaller machines froze in place. The battlefield grew silent. Sparks flickered, smoke rose, but no new machines came. The source was gone. The villagers stared in awe, then their cries of victory rose high into the sky. They rushed to Ryan and Lyra, lifting them on their shoulders, shouting with joy. Tears filled Lyra's eyes as she looked at Ryan. You saved us. You saved our home. Ryan shook his head, his voice rough with emotion. No. We saved it together. Human and alien, side by side. The elder stepped forward, raising his staff high. This day will be remembered. The day we stood together and broke the darkness. The day hope returned. The villagers cheered louder, their voices echoing across the valley, carrying far beyond the scar. For the first time in many seasons, the land was free of the grinding claws. As the sun set, Ryan stood on the ridge with Lyra. The forest stretched wide before them, peaceful and whole. The sky burned gold and red, and for a moment, all was quiet. Ryan breathed deeply, the weight of the long struggle lifting from his shoulders. He had come as a stranger, but now he had found something greater. A family, a purpose, and a world worth protecting. And as the stars began to appear in the sky, he knew this was not the end of his story, but the beginning of a new one.